right, guys. Welcome to episode 3. We're on 3. We are talking about all the latest releases today because I feel like the industry has just like camera dumped all over us. That's a weird way to say it, but I said it anyways.
Well, not just with cameras though, like in so many different ways. And we're gonna talk about something very specific that I wasn't aware of until like a couple days ago. It's kind of a game changer for like the industry as a whole. I feel like, especially in our field, but we'll get there.
Oh, we didn't talk about that, so I have no idea what it is.
No,
But
it's gonna be a bomb.
oh, dropping bombs. All right, you know what? Let's just start off with the camera company that I feel like everyone has apparently just now found out about, that I have been happily riding that train for a hot minute, and that's Fujifilm. Yo, I will say this, they've been killing it. They have been catching, I hate to say it like that, but like catching up. And I feel like now they're finally getting the credibility that they should have gotten a little while ago, because they've been doing the same thing for a hot minute, like good colors, the film simulations. But now I feel like they're really like kicking it up, especially. So I have the XH2S. That's actually pretty beast of a camera, especially if you're like just getting into like filmmaking and stuff, and you need like just a powerhouse to get you through everything. That, for the price, is hard to beat.
So Fujifilm, in my opinion, took the and we've all heard it before, like don't let anybody know your next move. Move in silence. I think they took that really literally, because
Very.
Fujifilm is just one of those people. It's like the star athlete in high school that's just like super humble. Is like, yeah, it's cool, I did that. Like,
Right.
like you got Canon and Sony that are like always in the mainstream media, always like at the forefront of like the press, jockeying back and forth between who can make the most expensive, biggest, baddest camera.
For
and
real.
Fujifilm's just in the back of the room, like, hey, we got one too.
Yeah. Just so humble, just
Just
like,
so like, hey, we put one out too. It's kind of cool.
I mean, if you don't know already, like the XH2S is like, it's a 26 megapixel backside illuminated stacked sensor. It's crop sensor. They have F-Log 2, which has way better dynamic range than C-Log 3. I haven't tested Nikon's in-log, whatever it's called,
Whatever
their
it's-
log
yeah.
profile. So I can't really speak on that one. But like, wow, is F-Log 2 way better than C-Log 3.
I mean, not that that's saying much, but it is better.
Dude, leaps and bounds. And the fact that like that camera is like going head to head with like an R6 Mark II price wise, dude, if that is your decision to pick between those two cameras, XH2S wins hands down.
Well, I would say a lot of your X series cameras from Fuji are really just packed full of
They
all kinds
are.
of really great software and really great features.
100%.
I'm pretty sure and this is kind of getting into more of a niche area, but like with film simulation, I think,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, every X-line camera can do film simulation.
Yes.
So on top of having F-Log that has great dynamic range, I think they're one of their top X cameras can do internal ProRes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So the XH2S does internal ProRes at, I want to say it's LQ, then 422, and then HQ.
I mean, that's more than my R5 does.
It's insane.
For half the price.
Yeah, I have that camera. It's a beast. I've shot weddings outside in Florida with it. It gets hot, but it has never overheated on me, which is saying a lot because, I mean, you have the R5. I used to have the R5. It does not take much to overheat that
No, it does
camera.
not.
And like, this thing pumps out a way beefier codec and does it with ease.
Yeah, and again, for half the price.
Yeah, for half the price.
So,
it's crazy.
Fujifilm's just one of those companies that's been steadily developing their product and just not saying
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and just, again, just very humble in the corner, like, hey, we're making cameras. It's got some really cool features. You should try them.
Yeah, and I just watched this the other day, and they came out with the XS10 or 20, sorry, XS20. So they just updated that camera, which blew my mind how much they gave it. They gave it the 6K open gate in that camera. It's essentially, in my opinion, a baby like XH2, but it uses the same sensor as the X100V, which is a great sensor.
Which I about to say is a great
It's a
sensor.
great sensor. So imagine that, but in like a little bit more of like a modern style body, but video specs were like way past what it should be able to do, in my opinion. That thing's a beast, and that sucker is $1,300.
Which is crazy.
That's
That's
stupid.
a crazy price point.
That's stupid.
And the thing about it is, like, and I hate to say it, like, marketing goes a long way, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Marketing does a lot for you. And I feel like Canon and Sony have, I mean, one, they've been around forever, but so has Fuji.
Yeah.
But I think where they've won is in the marketing department, right? They have more PR, they have more marketing, they have almost like a wider net that they've cast
Yeah.
to collect more people.
Yeah.
Which I feel like if Fuji would just invest in a little bit more marketing, a little bit more advertising, and like really kind of like maybe show up and be like, hey, we're
Right.
contenders too, and here's why, more people would start to see them in that light and be like, oh, maybe I do need to make the switch.
Oh yeah, and I feel like some people are like complaining about like, well, the autofocus isn't up to par. And I'm like, have you used one yet? And they're like, well, I've seen videos. And I'm like, I own one. I've used it. I have an R3 that I have to compare pretty much everything to. I will say the XH2S is not to that level yet, but I will say it is stickier and a little bit better than my C70 autofocus wise.
Okay.
So to me, that's still saying a lot. Like, I still think the C70 is really reliable when it comes to autofocus. But like the fact that Fuji's like, well, it's their flagship, but it'll still do better than that. I think you're good to go, especially for like weddings and all of that stuff. Like, dude, especially all the crap that they stuffed into that XS20. These names though. They get like tongue twisters.
I was about to say, that is where Fuji kind of like needs to, I feel like, raise the bar a little bit. It's like, let's go back to the naming
Just
board.
split them up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Make it a little
Like,
easier.
Canon did a good job. It's the R3. It's the R.
Right.
Granted, the numbers make no chronological order, so that is confusing. But like with Fuji, it's like, hang on, I need another piece of paper to finish my
Right.
back.
It's like a code.
Yeah.
But I think, man, if you're just getting into video, like bang for your buck, no camera, and I'm saying this from a person who has a lot of money in Canon. You cannot beat the bang for buck that Fuji gives you. It's just, it's not available in any other market, especially for like, because you have to keep in mind, like the XS20, that new one they just dropped for $1,300, does 6K open gate in F-Log 2 in like 10-bit 422. Like, already that's absurd
For the price,
for the
absolutely,
price.
yeah.
$1,300. There's no record limit, and they just put, the only reason it's slightly bigger than the one before, which is like by not even an inch, like it's a super small camera, and they put the bigger battery in it, so the battery life is outstanding too. So you could pump 3 batteries in your bag and just shoot an entire wedding with that easy.
And for somebody who's just starting out, somebody who maybe doesn't have a ton of money, someone who, you know, thinks they want to do this or like is not 100% sure that they want to do it full time, right?
Oh yeah,
$1,300, it sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a drop in the bucket.
easy.
It really is.
Because it's so easy to drop a lot of, especially when it comes to video.
Yes.
Video is where it gets expensive really quick, because you don't just need a camera, you don't just need a lens. Like, you got to have tons of memory cards. Then
Yes.
then it's editing software and all of this stuff.
Lights, all like
It's easily double, if not triple, the price of photo.
I'm about to say no, and it's no disrespect to photographers out there. Like, we both started with photography.
Yeah.
Our wives are both, you know, mainstream photographers. No disrespect to the photographers out there, but sometimes people who don't do video just don't get it.
They don't know.
Right? They don't know, and it's not their fault. They don't
No.
know what they don't know.
Yeah.
But video is not a standalone thing. There's,
No.
it's you have to have so many other things going on.
There's so many different variables that can totally screw up what you're shooting, especially at a wedding.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like if audio takes a dip, like you're SOL on audio, now you got to figure that whole thing out and try to
Oh,
explain that to your client.
we didn't even
or
bring that up. Yeah, your
yeah,
your video guys, they're also your audio guys.
yeah,
Like that's
they wear a lot of hats, and then like there's so many shots that like if you didn't have it right, like you're just well, that's SOL. You're not using that shot.
we also don't get the what is it? We also don't get the luxury of just being like, oh well, like play around with the settings until it's exposed right.
Yeah,
That's not how that
doesn't-
works.
yeah.
This is not how that works.
You're like I feel you're so confined like because like I said like a lot of these cameras only shoot like 10-bit 422, and that's been like a huge thing like for the past what 3 years
Probably
now.
3 years, yeah.
That's only 3 years we've had 10-bit. Like for photo, 12-bit RAW has been like a standard for years, like over a decade. So if your camera didn't shoot 12-bit RAW, like color-wise for photos, then what were you doing?
And we're gonna come back to this whole like raw
Right.
thing. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier.
Oh,
We're gonna come back to that in a second because again, what you don't know, you don't know. And I feel like for the photographers listening out here, we may have some information that they may have not have known.
Yeah.
When it comes to video.
So, but yeah, hey, Fuji, keep crushing it. I've been super happy with everything. And they just launched a new app along with that camera as well, and it works a million times better.
I about to say we downloaded it yesterday because we have an X100V,
Oh.
and my wife, who's been using the old Fuji app,
It's a
we got it yesterday. Literally out from her office, literally is like yelling at me. She's like, "It's so much better." It's
night and day. Thank you for it's been a long road for the Fuji users who have been like diehard. So like they're finally getting like the payoff that they've been waiting for so
just
patiently.
had to stick with it.
But hey, in my opinion, if you're a Fuji person, like it's all good now. Like you're loving life. Just be patient when prices go up because all the TikTokers bought the
I'm
camera.
about to say, and that's the thing with you Fuji users now. You're about to feel the pain that Canon and Sony users are feeling.
Yes.
People are gonna start liking your stuff. Prices.
Yeah,
Gonna
because
start
everything's
going
going to be sold out. You're
Yep.
going to be, it's in demand, especially because they're so affordable compared to like every other
literally
camera
everything
company.
else.
So, I mean, I know that was like quite a rant on Fuji and like praising their names. Like, yeah, there's still areas that they could probably improve on, but like from being somebody who had the X100V before it got any updates to where it is
man.
now,
Caveman times.
it's like it's night and day. It's like a different camera. Like especially video wise, they gave that thing a lot of power.
Dude, it has a
for
built-in.
what
It
is.
has a built-in ND now.
Yeah,
like,
that wasn't
what?
you couldn't use that in video when I had it.
The R5 doesn't have a built-in ND
I
filter.
know.
Like
It's so tiny too. So it's like, what's your excuse, Canon?
it's better than nothing.
Right.
Because so kind of shifting gears a little bit away from something that's super nice that just came out, super useful, everybody's gonna want. Let's talk about something that, again, I'm gonna bash on. And don't get me wrong, I love Canon. I'm in the Canon ecosystem. I'm heavily invested.
Same.
But we're gonna talk about something again that Canon has pushed out that I think that is not gonna do as well as they think it's gonna do, and that's the new 28mm f2.8. Little pancake lens. It's a 28mm and it's a f2.8. Which is crazy to me because they have a 24-70 2.8
Yeah.
and they have a 28-70 f2. So I get it that it's going to be like, oh, it's super small, it's compact, it'll fit. It's still an RF lens, so it has to go on an RF body. So it's not like you're saving a ton of room because I still got to lug around an R6, an R5, an 8, a 10, or a 7, a full frame camera, if you will. But now it's like, oh, we have this little pancake travel lens.
I feel like that lens was made for the person who wants to travel but not bring like a big lens, because I feel like that paired with the R8 would be like a super tiny combo. Because have you seen the R8?
I've held one before.
It's small. It's to me, it's a little too small. But for like, I hate to say it like that, but for like, I feel like girls, like my wife has small hands, like that size and form factor would be nice, and then you don't get tired like holding it. So I don't know. They haven't had like any small lenses really that are like decent. So I feel like that's more of like a street photographer's lens. So I know a lot of street photographers that love the 28 mil.
I
Like
will
this is a 28.
I will say yes to that, but I'll also say when you have a lens that is so good as a 24 to 70, the 24 to 70 f2.8 is a fantastic lens. If I was going to go out in street photography, I get 4 more mil on the front side, and then I get all the way from 29 to 70 on the back side. Is it a bigger lens? Yes. Will I sacrifice a little more weight for the versatility? Also, yes.
See, but I feel like that's also coming from like a wedding photographer's background. Because as that, we need versatility over size and weight all day. Because versatility means you got the shot versus, oh, I'm not as tired. Like in the wedding industry, it's like, bro, you better suck it up. Like, who cares if you're tired or not? Like, you got to get that shot. And when it comes to street photography, it's all about like not really being seen, going like, I don't know, you're walking around like for a long time. And it's all about like getting comfortable with like a focal length and how personal you want to get with your subject. So I feel like I know who it's for, but then at the same time, it's also like it could be a coin toss. But I don't know. I'm glad they're just coming out with more glass, more so, because I feel like they came out with a lot of lenses and then just like kind of stopped. And it's been like, oh, well, here's like the 24 1.8.
Well,
And then they're like, nothing.
I think it was
It's
about
like crickets.
I think it was about a year ago. They came out with like what they called like the roadmap,
Yeah.
and it was in the next 6 years we're gonna pump out X number of lenses and X number of bodies, and we're about I would say probably like a quarter of the way through that, maybe a third of the way through that, and they've come out with some really good
Yeah,
stuff.
they've come out with good stuff.
They've also come out with stuff that no one's gonna buy, like the 24 grand. The telescope that they made. What is it? The 600 f2.8 or one? Yeah.
Granted, it's another unicorn of a lens, and it's like the wow factor is there. Like I'm sure it's.
I'm glad that your
insane.
National Geographic guys and your Olympic photographers are going to get to use one.
Yeah,
But that's
but
who
I
else
can
is
guarantee
buying?
you they're not buying it. They're just renting it for the
Oh
event.
no, they're going to go to the media room, sign it out, and
Yeah.
go about their business.
It's like, all right, it's gonna be like $300 to rent for the day. Yeah, I'll take that over
Cool.
spending $24,000.
Yeah, I'd rather pay my truck off.
Golly, it's wild. Like we're getting like wild behind lenses like that, but yet we don't have a 35 like L lens.
Nope.
Like, where is it at? Like, I love, and I literally mean love, the 35 mil focal length. Like, that's essentially what this is. I mean, it's like a 38, but still, like,
Close enough.
like I use my wife's RF 35 a lot, but I would love to have like, that L series prime, at least 1.4. Like I would be happy with a 1.4 with IS. Or if you wanted to go the other route, a 1.2 with no IS. I'm happy either way. I just really want my freaking L series 35 already.
Somebody give this man a red ring.
Dude, I feel because if you have the 35 1.8 that's already out, that the macro on it is really good.
Like I said, we had one
That-
for the longest time.
Yeah, it's a decent lens. I won't say it's a great lens or a phenomenal lens because it's not. Its autofocus issues are all over the place. It still has pretty bad chromatic aberration for what it's supposed to be, and you don't get rid of a lot of those issues until you're at like 5.6,
Yeah.
which completely defeats
The purpose
the
of it being
1.8
Yeah, it's
purpose. So I don't know. I feel like we need that lens already because your wedding photographers are all gonna buy that sucker up because it's for weddings. It's the one prime where you can pretty much run 80% of the day.
God. I
with.
hope they don't buy a bunch of 35 primes.
Oh, you know they
Please,
will.
God, don't.
You know they will.
If you're a wedding photographer and you run a 35 prime, just know that like we don't like you.
Why?
Because you're
Oh, you gotta get close.
You're always going to be in the shot. You're going to be so close all the time. Like there's I'll put it to you this way: if you're a wedding photographer with a 35, you're probably not a part of the meme pages that make fun of you.
Right.
There's a ton of meme
Probably
pages
not.
that make fun of you. So, like,
Yeah.
let's learn to use a little bit of zoom. Let's back up a little bit. Oh, and by the way, if you're running any kind of decent modern camera, you can back up, shoot it, and then crop it in post. You don't have to be on top of
True.
people.
That's especially if you got an R5.
That's what I'm saying. If you got you can crop 400%. Like, please back up out of the shot.
That's insane. 400%. But like, okay. So we're obviously still talking about Canon. But can I just say, like, what the crap are you guys doing camera wise? I'm just genuinely curious because you just dropped a lot of cameras that I felt like no one asked for.
Absolutely no
R8,
one.
I get. It's a RP replacement. You're probably not going to refresh the R because that wouldn't make sense. So please don't spend R&D on that. Like, people are either going to jump from the R8 to an R6 or R6 Mark II. Leave that there. That is fine. Those are spaced perfectly. Leave that alone. The R50, I get. It's an entry level. I feel like it's priced a little high for what it is, for the features that it has.
I completely forgot about the R50.
Yeah. And then you guys drop the R100.
Yeah.
I get those. They're entry level. They're replacing your T3i, your T5i. I got it. But you have 0 lenses to support any part of that system. So I'm assuming that's where the 28 came in because it's fairly affordable.
I think it's like, what, $299? Something like that.
So like that's a pretty solid buy. Your 50 1.8, pretty solid buy. But other than those, you have nothing there APS-C wise.
No.
So I'm really confused why you still don't have like third parties helping you out there. Like that would help you out night and day. I get it. You're not going to make like a ton more money, but people know the difference between like pro glass and third party glass. They know there's a difference. There's a difference focusing wise. And those people who are just know professionally, at least who own a business with it, are going to buy that your glass.
I was about to say the bulk of your professionals are gonna buy your Canon.
They want the
glass
native
anyways.
RF
Yeah.
Canon glass. Like they're gonna buy
But
it.
your people who like photography, your people who are, let's say, like college students, right? That
Yeah.
maybe looking like in a photography class, they really like the hobby, or just
dabbling.
want something more than a phone, right?
Yes.
Let them have third party glass.
Yeah, here's the thing. The more cheap glass you let out into the world, like the more people are still going to buy into your system. Cheap glass is always going to be there. And that's whether it's going to be adapted or all that stuff. But like you're just holding back your entry market. So
Yeah.
like less people are going to buy your product.
But you're still pushing out entry level cameras.
yeah, so it's like
So
I'm
like,
so
hey,
confused.
here's like cheap entry level camera. By the way, you need $3,000 in glass in front of it.
Right, like so we already talked about it, but the XH2S. I have the Tamron 17 to 70 f2.8. That's like it's got image stabilization in it. Phenomenal lens. I think I paid $900 for it. Great lens. It's a little plasticky, not my favorite on that, but it gets the job done. It's mainly for B cam and like my off-roading like stuff. So like if it can take a beating, like it's great for that. But I didn't want to spend more than $900 on another lens that's not as versatile.
Right.
Like the 16 to 55 is like right around that same price, but there's no stabilization and I get like a shorter focal length. But Canon, if you just like that 17 to 70 lens, all your crop sensor people are going to buy that up.
Absolutely.
Easy. Like it's too versatile. It's super affordable. And people, if there's an RF mount, they're like, oh, well, I can just buy the R7 to upgrade my camera body. But if there's no lenses for them to buy into, they're just not going to buy the system.
Right.
So I don't know.
You're kind of doing two things at once here. You're trying to attract people with an entry level, lower price camera, but at the same time, you're like fighting them off by not giving them entry level, affordable glass.
Yes, it's like so counterintuitive. And then also, I don't think Canon's paying attention to what their competitors are doing. at
No.
all.
No, Canon's in its own bubble. They
Yeah.
always have been, and they probably always will be. But
And I get that for like a certain extent, but like, dude, Fuji is throwing in like ProRes in a $2,500 camera. They're throwing 6K open gate inside of what is that? Like a $1,300 camera. $1,300 has 6K open gate with F-Log 2. Like it is a
and it doesn't
powerhouse.
overheat.
Yes. So I don't know. I feel like Canon, you need to open your eyes a little bit more. And here's the thing: we own your stuff.
I'm about to say it'd be one thing if we were like
We got well over 10 grand.
if we were Sony guys or something like that. We are Canon people.
Yeah.
We're in the ecosystem.
We have that stuff.
Deeply.
I can talk as much crap as I want.
Exactly.
I've spent enough money on your product. I have well over 20 grand worth of Canon stuff.
Easily.
Easy. So easily probably way more than that.
But going back to what you said, like Canon just like producing cameras to like produce cameras.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the cameras that they're not producing though. The R5 Mark II, everyone was waiting on it.
Everyone's still waiting on
As
it.
soon as the R6 Mark II got announced, the people on the R5 camp said, "This is it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a Mark II. It's gonna be fixed, right? It's not gonna have like. Obviously, they took all the notes from the original R5. We're gonna get a camera, and I will tell you, as a part of multiple R5 pages, when the R6 Mark II got announced and released, literally every comment on there was like, "Okay, our time's coming. It's coming. It's coming right behind it. It has to come right behind it."
It should have.
What do we get? We got a firmware update.
Yeah.
No camera.
A crappy one at that.
A terrible one.
We gave you more megapixels. I bought an R5 so I didn't have to shoot more megapixels.
So, like, and that's the thing that's confusing about Canon, right? That would have been the move.
That would have been.
Everyone, because here's the thing: you had a whole, I would say, Canon users, and I'm going to speak vaguely, so please, no one fight me. Into a couple groups, right?
I'll throw hands.
You have your dedicated photo guys,
Yep.
your dedicated video guys, and then the guys right in the middle, right? And a lot of those guys that are right in the middle are R5 users,
Yes.
right? Because 8K RAW on one side, 45 plus megapixels on the other, right? A lot of your wildlife guys, your aviation guys, your landscape guys, a lot of those are R5 users.
Yeah.
And you had a whole group, a big group of users
A big one.
that were lined up ready to pre-order. Like literally
Easy.
lined like, hey, I'm going to pre-order it. As soon as it gets here, I'm trading in my other one for cash, right?
Yeah.
And then they got nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And not even like, hey, it's delayed. Like, hey, we're just not at this time.
Right.
Sorry. And that was the end of it.
It was the most confusing move to me because it's like, I apologize for saying here's the thing so much. I realized when I went to edit our first podcast, I say, here's the thing,
Here's the thing.
like a million times. So apologies in advance. But here's the thing.
Oh, man.
Apologies in advance from here on out for using that phrase.
Turn it into a drinking game.
I get that from my dad. He says that a lot. So thanks, Dad.
I had to, just real quick, but we're getting off on a tangent. I had to break them off for my dad by saying, listen here.
Oh,
Right?
listen
It was real bad. Listen here. Right? Had to break that real quick.
Hey, there are parents. We get stuff. We inherit things unintentionally all the time. But I felt like you could have made all your R5 users at least content for bare minimum a year or two by giving them no more time limit on at least IPB and normal IPB 4K.
Dude, and that's
Like
the
IPB
thing.
compressed light and IPB. You would have they would have been happy. They'd have been like, that's enough for me. I will wait for next year or 2 years for the R5 Mark II.
Right. If you weren't going to give them an actual physical camera,
Yeah. That would have been.
give them something that's useful and that they can use.
Yeah.
Because like even for us, like running the podcast, right?
Yep.
We've had to find workarounds now to keep this camera going for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
How easy would it have been to push a firmware update like, hey, sorry, we're working on Mark II, but in the time being, we're going to here's a firmware, no more record time. and then X, Y, and Z, some other little things.
Right.
Perfect.
You would be shocked how many people would be like, okay, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
And then like that's it. You don't have anybody riding your freaking butt about where's my Mark II? Where's my Mark II? Like I need my Mark II. You wouldn't have to worry about it. They wouldn't exist because you gave them exactly what they needed, not wanted, because they want a Mark II, but what they needed, at least just to get by. Like for crying out loud, like even if you just made it to an hour, so many of them would be happy. Just an hour of recording.
Well, and I think I said this on one of our last episodes. There's no reason now that any modern camera in at least one of the modes should have a record limit, even if it's like 1080, right?
Yeah.
There should be at least one mode where I can just hit the button and let it roll until the battery runs out.
Exactly. Now get it on the old cameras because they just don't update them anymore because there've been like full-blown replacements for those cameras.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Anything like 2019 forward.
Yeah.
There's no reason why.
But this, like, Cannon, you don't have a replacement for your R5 yet. Your R5C is not a replacement. It was frick, how do we fix that issue? And you put out a completely different camera. Like, granted, the R5C is like, from my experience, is pretty solid. But it drinks battery juice.
Yes.
Like, it blows through that. Also, it wouldn't hurt you to come out with a new battery.
Lord.
Just because you put an H at the end of the one you already had.
It's the same battery.
It didn't make it that much better.
I take that back. It's not the same battery. One doesn't have that cool little shiny sticker on it.
Oh, yeah. Need the shiny.
The new one has that cool little shiny Canon sticker on it so that, when you pop it out of your bag, everybody's like, oh, he got new batteries. Like, but other than that, I think, it's the same battery.
Yeah, it's the same battery. I get it. It's in like every camera since the beginning of DSLRs with you. But like, seriously, like the BPs are great. No one has an issue with those. No one has an issue with my R3 battery.
That battery is also the same size as that can.
Yeah. It's like, it is a huge battery.
It's pretty big.
But like, can we just fix just a little bit bigger? Your cameras are demanding way too much power for that little battery to do anything. Like, just photos, it's fine. Works great for just photo. Video? Yeah, a whole different issue.
Good luck.
Whole different issue.
I go through 4 to 5 batteries a wedding.
Yeah, like, I shot, like, a mini, like, commercial thing for this company with the XH2S in ProRes HQ just because I could.
Rub it in some more.
I'm not trying to rub it in, but like, it's just, I tried to overheat it and burn as much battery. I did a little over an hour of shooting, still only used one battery, never overheated, like, got every shot that I wanted, and the quality is freaking insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's like, hey, Canon, like, what's going on? And I feel like this is a great segue into like, Nikon is catching up with you, dog. So, if not, passing you.
So now that if we're gonna go into the Nikon realm here, we're gonna talk about what you're gonna bring up here, and then I'm gonna drop this bomb because I don't feel like many people know about what we're about to talk about.
Absolutely not. But so like Nikon, if you keep up with any, I feel like everyone can pretty much keep up with camera gear. Like news, it just gets dropped all over YouTube like a freaking bomb. But the Z9 was a pretty freaking beast of a camera.
Oh, it still is.
And yeah, it still very much is. Like if you're in between a Z9 and an R3 but you have Nikon glass, I don't blame you if you get the Z9. That's a monster of a camera. It's just a continuing joke that everyone makes fun of Nikon. So just beware of that when you buy it. Just know that people are going to make fun of you. That's there. Okay, moving on. But they just came out with the Z8. Holy crap.
Yeah.
And this is the only time where I will give Canon a little break. Because if you haven't dropped your R5 Mark II yet, and it doesn't match what the Z8 does,
don't do it. Just
don't even release it.
Don't even release it.
Don't release it. Because that freaking thing is a beast. Like, did you see it?
I have seen a few videos about it. I've seen some guys talk about it. I know that it's essentially a Z9 without the bottom battery grip.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I'm pulling it up right here just so we can bust out these specs because it doesn't seem real, especially for the price point.
Well, here's the thing:
$4,000.
Nikon has finally gotten over being made fun of.
Oh yeah, I feel like that these cameras now, the Z9 was kind of like, okay,
We're done being bullied.
yeah, put a sock in it, like shut your mouth. This is what we can do, and I'm listening. I don't know. Canon probably still isn't, but I heard you. 45 megapixels. Okay. 30% smaller than a Z9, which I feel like wasn't that hard to accomplish, but
Yeah, they took the bottom half of it off.
They took the bottom part off. 8K 60 in RAW. My R3 only does, I mean, it does 6K, which for me is plenty in RAW, but 8.3K.
Ooh,
Squeeze a little extra,
little
in there.
extra,
little extra
little sauce on it.
Little,
That's a petty move by Nikon.
right.
8K, 0.3 baby.
That was their suck it move.
Yeah.
That's what that was. In RAW, also 4K 60 in ProRes RAW.
Which is fantastic.
Shut up.
Fantastic.
Shut up. 8K 30 and 4K 120 and 10-bit internal. Like 20 frames a second raw photos. Like, dude, what? Like, this thing just came out freaking swinging.
Yeah.
Like, my goodness.
4K 60 ProRes. Oh my goodness.
You just put ProRes, not just ProRes RAW.
And for those of you who don't like edit like on the Apple like suite, right?
Like,
the DaVinci guys on Windows or like Premiere Pro.
Dude.
ProRes RAW on an Apple computer.
Butter.
It's melted butter.
Butter.
Bro, it's melted. It's just
it edits better than H.265.
it is so smooth.
Fight me if you think it does.
So good. Oh man.
Right. It's so just to see that stuffed into a camera that's literally the same size as the R5 does way more than an R5.
So much more.
Now, I did watch one video and the guy finally got it to overheat. Keyword finally, which means it didn't overheat on the first battery. He got over an hour and a half of 8K, or roughly right around an hour and a half of 8K. That's stupid.
I think the R5 would give me like 16 minutes.
That's dumb time, dude. I mean, you would need still like 2 terabytes for that, but like the fact that it can, that's the whole thing we're like pointing out. It's not that you need it, but it can do it if you do need it. And that is why we give Canon such a hard time, is because like it just can't do it.
Supposed to be a leader of the industry.
Yeah, we're like my R3, I love it to death. I reference it pretty much all the freaking time because it is a monster of a camera. But there are still so many things that it could use for its price tag. Like,
yes.
You can easily give me ProRes.
And
I know you can.
And I think that's the biggest thing that like we need people who are listening to this to remember.
Yeah.
I'm not bashing the camera.
Yeah.
I'm bashing the capability for the price.
Yes. It's the price tag that you want to slap on it.
Yep.
You're telling me a $4,000 camera has better photo and video capabilities than my $6,500 camera. That's $2,500 more.
That's a whole nother backup camera.
That's an R6 Mark II.
Yep.
I could buy an R6 Mark II with that money and still not have the same video capabilities that one camera has. That's cheaper than my $6,500 camera. That hurts. Like, I love my camera to death. I love my Canon colors. You can go fight me. I'll die on that hill. Canon has good colors. Doesn't mean you can't achieve good colors with other cameras. It's just, for me, it's an easier A to B.
Right.
That's it.
And I think that people at Canon know that.
Yeah,
I think
they know
I
that,
think
and
they
they've
know,
been
like,
riding that freaking train forever.
right. They're like, we got them hooked in. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, they're too invested at this point, especially like people like us. Like, oh, he's got a C70.
I got over
He's got an
20
R3.
grand.
Oh, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's hard to make a switch.
Yeah.
Like, I've bounced and juggled cameras. I had no issue before. Now it's kind of like, okay, I'm to the point where I know I can accomplish everything I need with the cameras that I have and the lenses that I have. So now I'm at the point where it's like I've already dropped the cash. I already have I already have all the gear. I don't really need anything else. So like to me, everything from here on out is a want factor, not necessarily like I need it.
It's a convenience thing.
Yeah. So like if they gave me ProRes, even if it wasn't RAW, I don't even care about having ProRes RAW. If you gave me ProRes 422 or even LQ in my R3,
I'll take it.
I will never use another camera again. I won't need anything else because I edit everything in Final Cut. You can go hate on Final Cut as much as you want. I've messed with a bunch of other programs. That's the one I'm the fastest at. I learned it really easy, which we can also get into later, but that's a great program. Like the only program that I had issues with was Premiere because it crashes all the freaking time. I don't have patience for that.
Nope.
I need to get my crap done. I need to get the frick out of here and go on to my next project.
And
so
ProRes will just help you get that done
Yeah.
faster.
The fact that ProRes edits so much better and smoother than H.264 or 5, dude, like I can get better quality and run through my projects way faster with less headache. Yeah, sign me up.
Not having to constantly switch between like performance mode or
Yeah, right.
favorite performance or favorite playback. Like,
Yeah, it's annoying.
it's annoying.
It's just like little things. So
But on the subject of Nikon and on the subject of raw photo and raw video, if you don't know, I'm going to kind of give you a little backstory, a little
education
context
right now.
here. And it's one of my pet peeves when people ask, like, "Oh, I want the raw video." I'm like, no one is shooting raw video, but
Yeah.
you don't understand what you don't understand.
Right.
So if you're a photographer listening, your camera can shoot raw photo, right? Saves all the metadata, gives you so much, linear room to work with it. Great.
Yeah.
What common people are referring to as raw video is not raw video.
Not even close.
It's a MP4 file or a .mov, depending on how your camera puts it out.
Yeah.
It's not raw.
It's not.
There are very few cameras that shoot raw. And I found out a couple days ago that our boys over at Nikon were in a lawsuit with Red
Yep.
over their internal raw capabilities. Not because it shoots internally raw, but way back when Red first came out, they patented how to compress internal raw. So if you don't know, a raw file is huge. It's massive.
Freaking massive.
I shot a project that was 100% raw, 4K, or no, it was actually 5K 60 ProRes raw.
Yeah.
And a 500 gig hard drive got me 15 and a half minutes of footage. Right? That's the file sizes we're talking about here. They're just massive.
That's absurd.
Red, when they came out with a system, a way to compress it, right? So you're not having to use near the storage to record raw internally compressed. And they patent that.
Mm-hmm.
But when they patented it, somehow it got approved. They didn't just patent their process. They patented the compressing of internal raw recording as a whole.
Yeah. Which
So-
is absurd.
Which is absurd. And no one's been able to fight them on it, right? They have. I learned the other day, they have gotten to lawsuits with people like Apple.
Yep.
They have gotten to
And won.
lawsuits with every other major company and won them all.
Won every single one.
And if you don't think Apple has the money to hire the best lawyers in the country, right?
You're out of your freaking
you're out of
mind.
your mind. And they still lost because that's how it held up.
Yeah.
Going back to the Z9. What is something that Nikon did with the Z9?
Internal raw. baby.
Internal raw compressed.
Yep.
And I think they knew what they were doing because they knew the lawsuit was going to come.
Yeah.
And guess what? It did. Z9 comes out.
Absolutely.
2 months later, they get hit with a lawsuit by
Oh, yeah.
Red. Last month, that lawsuit got dismissed,
Yep.
but not by a judge and not by Nikon.
Nope.
It got dismissed by Red. Red let it go. And here's why Red let it go. That patent we talked about, that was, and again, I'm not a patent lawyer. Don't fight me. Don't at me, as the
Right.
kids say. Was the lawyers over at Nikon hired a bunch of them. And they looked it over, and they looked it over, and they looked it over. And they pretty much said, like, hey, this is overly broad. And patents can't be overly broad. That's
No.
part of a patent. It's
Yeah.
a very specific process.
Yeah.
And they said, this is very, very overly broad. So if you want to, we'll let you have this one. But then we're going to sue your patent. Right? We're going to countersue the patent. And Red said,
You can have that
never
one.
mind.
Yeah.
Your camera can do it.
You can have it.
So Nikon didn't win this lawsuit.
Dude.
But what happened was they gave pushback to Red.
Oh,
they,
yeah.
they fought them back.
They knew.
And Red said, it's not worth it because I don't want to lose the patent.
Exactly.
Right? So what does that do? What does that do? Every other camera company,
Yep.
I hopefully,
Please.
and their lawyers and their engineers and their R&D guys,
Please.
I hope to God you were sitting at the table watching and be like, we can do it too.
Yep.
Because the door's been open now.
Yeah.
Nikon now has shown the world, and again, hate on Nikon all you want. They showed the world that, yeah, they have this, they had the market on it,
Mm-hmm.
but they shouldn't have.
No.
So, like, now other companies can start working on this and start maybe pushing this out. And who knows?
Right.
R1 comes out. Who knows?
Dude, I better get a freaking update on my R3. That's all I'm saying.
You're all about the updates, man.
Hey, I don't want to buy. I don't want to spend another $6,500, man.
Man.
I already dropped the cash. All right, it hurt enough,
Listen, MPB that thing for like 40% retail, you know.
bro. What? Sell it for the same price as the R5? That
No,
No.
that's not a thing because I actually looked the other day to what the resale value that is on MPB.
what? Like
Take a guess.
$2,000.
2,100.
Oh,
It's $4,000 camera.
that hurts.
It's disrespectful.
It's made me pick one up used. Don't buy
Yeah.
it new.
But
But that's insane.
yes, so but going back to the whole like internal raw video is great. You can do so much with it.
lot.
With the R5 recording in raw, because the R5 can record raw,
Yeah.
just not compressed raw.
No,
But it takes it from 12 stops to 14 stops dynamic range.
it's huge.
Which 2 stops is a lot.
It's
See,
a lot in video.
Yes, it's quite a lot.
Photographers don't understand, man. They've had the easy train for a hot minute, and us video guys need a break already.
Right, but and I think that's one of the biggest disconnects between, because photographers and videographers, we work very closely.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest disconnects I've ever seen is like photographers that don't do video, they just like, oh yeah, it's raw. It's not.
It's not.
It's not
They
raw.
think they think the process is so similar,
And it's not.
and our wives know because they're the ones that have to deal with this, and we have to explain it to them to go, yeah, that shot that you got, I can't get that, and they're going, why? I don't get it. We're in the same lighting. You're like, yes, but you can crank that down and save that in post. I can't.
I cannot stretch
Your
it
window's
near
here.
as far.
Your window is here. My window is here.
Yep.
Like I can only shoot in like this. And so what RAW would do, here's the thing. If you're a photographer, your camera, at least if you're in Canon, if you have an R5, shoot your photo in RAW and then compare it to a C-RAW photo. Look at the two, edit them in post. I don't know if you've done this yet, but I have. I can see no visible difference. I have stretched them the same. I've brought up the shadows the same. The noise ends up the same. They're the same thing. C-RAW is a fraction of the file size.
It's about a third.
Yeah. It's wild how much space you can save. And people just don't know about it.
Nope.
Because they see C-RAW and they're like, oh, I don't know what that is. Let me click RAW and just take a RAW photo. Well, like photos, you throw a 128 gig, you could pretty much shoot a wedding, maybe a 256 if you're shooting on an R5.
So fun fact, anytime I second shoot for Sarah, who shoots on R6, or anyone else that, I associate shoot for, second shoot for, I almost always ask them, hey, do you want it in RAW or do you want it in C-RAW? And I explain the difference. And 9 times out of 10, they want C-RAW because they're not trying to deal with those file sizes either.
Yeah.
Straight RAW files and photo from the R5, if you take 1,000 of them, it's a lot of space.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, dude, if we had like compressed RAW capabilities, like in the R3 or C70, like any of that, dude, we'd be shooting in that all the freaking time.
The time. It wouldn't come
all
out of
the
it.
time.
And no videographer would take it out of that. If
No.
you had the option to shoot raw and you had the space to do it, no videographer worth their salt is going to not shoot in raw.
Oh, absolutely
just based on the possibilities and the functionality they have after the fact.
Yeah.
It's literally like the difference between, and I'm going to show my age here, stretching a rubber band for just stretching like a Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, right.
The rubber band, like you get a little too far out, it's done.
Just snap.
Stretch Armstrong, you can go from here to my house, and
Right.
he'll be okay. I
Might
promise.
stretch out a little bit, but
gonna
like
be okay.
he made it.
Yeah. So
Like-
I just think it's really funny that Nikon of all people,
Not,
like of
Right.
all people,
hey, I will make the jokes, but just know I am not a Nikon hater. I'll be a secret fanboy. I don't care. Nikon deserves the pat on the back, the praise, all of it. They deserve it.
yeah.
Especially with like they can't, like I was saying, like the Z8, that is a beast of a camera. Like bravo. Like I feel like Nikon users with something like that kind of a camera, there's no way you can be the butt end of a joke
No.
except for just history wise. Like history wise, Nikon's just been that part of the joke. But I mean, moving forward, I think they're gonna get away from that now.
There's not a single
You're not
person
gonna
that's
hear it.
running a Z9 or a Z8 that is A, taking the jokes, or B, going to be a joke.
No,
It's-
they're just beasts of cameras. And then I feel like the last camera company that we have to talk about. Well, I mean, do we even throw Pentax in there?
For those of you who are still shooting film, Pentax is coming out with another camera sometime soon.
It
I
is
think.
a point and shoot.
Yeah, it's going to be a point and shoot. So
gonna be a point and shoot.
lucky for you guys, don't have to mess with any settings. Don't have to do anything. Just click.
Bravo to them.
I
Hey,
shoot film. I'm hippie and I am a trendsetter. I shoot film.
I'm just saying, Pentax, you better pump that sucker out quick because prices are getting outrageous and people are gonna sway away from film. In my opinion, pretty quickly. It's getting outpriced. So I don't know. You better hurry up and get
About
some
to say,
sales on
if
that.
If you're going to pump
You've
out a
been-
film camera, hopefully you're manufacturing your own film too to make it affordable.
Yeah, right. Because Pentax, love you, but you've been late to the party for a long time.
Forever.
So
Pentax is like the guy that still uses like Internet Explorer. He's like
Dial up.
He's getting like world news updates. Like Pentax is the guy's like, dude, you guys know COVID's going on? Like, dude, you are so late. You're so behind.
we've been out of that
Yeah, you're
for
so
a minute.
behind, bro.
But I feel like the last one we could touch on is Sony. And Sony, I feel like lately has been pretty much knocking it out of the park. I feel like they've been doing a super solid job of doing their best with tech. Because I feel like ever since the A7S III came out, I think Sony's been giving you everything that you could ask for. They've improved their color science. It's still not the best, personally. Like, this is coming from someone who shot on the A7S III. Loved it. Great camera. Not my favorite colors. S Cinetone was better color-wise, but still not my favorite. You have the A7 IV that came out after that.
Yep.
Great. Still don't understand the 4K 60 crop. Don't know why that's there. R6 Mark II doesn't have it, so
Yeah, but you got to remember the A7 IV came out well before the R6 Mark II.
it did. But there was also like a bunch of other cameras that were like similar enough price point that I get were APS-C. I get that, but I don't know. I felt like it could have been so much better. Than I feel like it's like an A7 III, like updated version.
But see, isn't that like the beauty and the pain in all of this anyways?
Pretty much.
There is never going to be the perfect camera.
No, I'm not saying
Ever.
perfect, but I feel like there was things that I felt like they cut corners on because they just didn't want to do it.
That's fair.
And I felt like, okay, you took the lazy way out on this one. And then the A7 R5 came out. You definitely didn't skimp out on that one. What
No.
the frick happened there?
No, that was the They were waiting on that one.
Yeah, you got the freaking ninja screen that goes any direction you want.
Yeah,
Was it 60 megapixels?
which is absurd.
Yeah, you got AI tracking in it,
Absurd.
which, I mean, I've watched so many videos. I haven't personally used one, but like, I mean, a lot of these people will do a darn good job of testing it out in the field, and dude, it keeps up really dang good.
Yeah.
Like, I would probably put it even toes to toes with my R3. It can probably hang in there. Like, that's saying a lot. That still hurts me to say that, but like, A1 can probably use an update. I felt like they've left that camera out.
They
which
have,
is sad.
but at the same time, when the A1 came out, it was really ahead.
Oh yeah, it was ahead for
So
sure.
like one thing that the A1 does that if you've never seen one, held one, used one, it does really well is it can take either 2 normal SD cards or 2 CF Express Type B cards.
Yep.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Because for somebody like me,
Well, they're CF Express Type A.
or they're Type A's. You're right.
Yeah.
They're Type
They're like
A's.
slightly different.
They're
Which
slightly different, but still either one of the other. But
Yeah.
you can take 2 of each.
exactly.
R5, you get 1 SD
Yeah.
card, 1 Type B card.
My R3's like that,
Exactly.
so that's a little annoying.
It's super annoying, but like when the A1 came out, that was huge.
Yeah,
Because now people are like,
because my A7S III had it.
yeah, and as wedding photographers and videographers, a lot of people like to like double record,
Yep.
and now you can on both platforms, both medias.
And you
Whereas
could
like
do-
with us, it's not a thing.
No, because you can't like for my R3, my no SD card is keeping up with that CF Express Type B
No,
card.
absolutely not.
There's such a speed difference between the two, so I don't know. But like, dude, they've been killing it. Like I said, the A1, I feel like it could have used a lot more of the updates that they gave the other cameras, and I feel like it just got left behind, which is unfortunate because I feel like that's a beast of a camera and it has a lot of capability, and they just haven't updated it. And there's been tons of videos of other people complaining about it too, but I mean the FX3.
You know it's coming though.
Oh, the Mark II?
Yeah,
It better be.
it's coming.
But I'm curious, how much better can you make it than the A7R5? Because the A7R5 has more megapixels than the A1. It has AI tracking in it now.
Maybe it'll take the photos for you.
Right? You just throw it on whatever. Just throw it on a gimbal, I guess. It does everything.
You just hold it up and it'll do everything for you.
Right? Just
But the FX3,
that's a great little camera, dude.
I'm about to say, and it for the size, the form factor,
The form factor.
is
Dude,
it is great.
it fits anywhere. It's a, I hate to say it like that, but it's a phenomenal crash cam.
Oh yeah,
Like it fits literally in any spot that you would ever want to put a camera.
I'm about to say it's such a good, super expensive GoPro.
I was just about to say, you beat me to it. It was literally like a cinema GoPro.
It is.
That's literally how I can, gosh, I can't unsee it now. It's literally a cinema GoPro.
Yeah, I mean, it's not big at all.
No, and the mounting capabilities, the good job Sony on the lens lineup too. I feel like their lenses, like they cover everything, and then third-party support as well.
Sony has always been super good with third-party support, though.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. As soon as they open it up, they're like, "Hey, here's the mount. You guys reverse engineer it.
Have fun.
Have fun." And they have done a fantastic job
Yeah.
with third-party support.
I feel like their own personal lineup of like G Master lenses, I feel like more so lacks over third-party because they've been putting R&D into bodies instead of lenses.
Well, because they know like people like Tamron,
Yeah.
Sigma, they are gonna keep
That's
pumping out
true.
lenses for it. So they're like, "Hey, they're gonna do it."
I mean, don't get me wrong, like their glass is still good.
Oh, yeah.
I just feel like
G Master glass is phenomenal.
yeah,
but
your third party is like
is
the same.
well, they're almost meeting that need.
Yeah.
So that Sony doesn't necessarily have to, and they can put their time in other
Yeah.
things.
Because they come out with like one lens like in a year is what it feels like anyways. It's like 1 or 2 lenses like for the entire year, and you're like, that's what you did with your time? But then you look at their camera body and you go, okay, I'll shut up now.
Yeah.
Because I'll give this to Sony again. They literally have every color and log profile in every camera they make.
Yep.
The same Fuji does the same thing. Well, a little bit different with the film simulations, but if the camera can process it, they give it to it.
Yep.
I don't understand why Canon doesn't do that. Like every other camera company does it. Like you're not helping anyone by saying C-Log 3 is easier for everyone. Okay, good for them. But I'm a pro, and C-Log 2 would save my butt in a lot more scenarios.
Yes.
So whether you think I can use it or not, freaking give it to me then.
If a camera can shoot in a RAW format,
Just
I should have C-Log 2.
thank
I
you
should have C-Log 2.
for real. And I know it sounds like we hate on Canon a lot, but like we said earlier, like we're Canon owners.
We hate on it because that's what we use, and we see what would help us every day.
Yes.
We know what would make our life so much easier.
Yeah. And I've used so many different camera systems, so it's like I will never say like, "Oh, I'm all in on Canon." Maybe for like professional work, yeah, that's what I own, but I'm not going to sit here and say that like other like camera companies can't do the same. Like I said, the XH2S is a monster of a camera, especially if you're more run and gun. That camera starts up super fast. Like the FX3, super beast of a camera, phenomenal for like video work. Like, gosh, they came out the FX30. So if you needed an even cheaper cinema
I would say
camera,
an even cheaper GoPro,
yeah,
like Cinema GoPro.
like, dude, wild, and they match pretty darn freaking close. I know that it's like a slight color shift in the FX30 after a certain ISO, but if you're shooting native, you won't see a difference. I don't care who you are. You won't see a difference unless you're Gerald Undone. You're not seeing the
Right.
difference. But also, you're not the person sitting there shooting charts all day either. So it's like your client's not going to see
I'm
it.
about to say,
If you can barely see it, client's not.
You
Gonna
about to say, you know who's definitely not going to see it?
Client.
The client.
The client will never see it.
No.
Ever. I've matched an A7S3 to an R5. Like, and if that client didn't freaking notice, no one else is.
Right.
So, I mean, not no one else. You might notice, but like, still, that means I did a good enough job for that. So, I don't know what else. What other? Oh, that freaking ZV-1.
Oh, the new vlog camera? Sony stays putting out vlog
Bro.
cameras, man.
I don't know who's still vlogging, but where the crap?
I don't-
A full. It's literally an A7S3 with a single card slot.
That's this big.
That's like a quarter of the size.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I don't know who's still using these cameras.
I don't
and
know.
I don't know why Sony feels like there's got to be a need.
Best
or else
Buy
they
had
would-
one on display, and I got to hold it a little bit. Dude, it's so small.
Yeah, it's tiny. So
I mean, here's the thing. There's that freaking phrase. But if you're a strict YouTuber, like you just YouTube, phenomenal camera, and it's your one-man band, I don't think you can find a better camera on the market for what that camera offers. Like the AI features where it can reframe and follow you around.
yeah,
Bro, one-man band all day. It looks like you have that saves you so much time in post, and then you can shoot S Cinetone, so it's already pretty much graded. Throw like a finishing LUT on top of that, you're done. Dial the LUT back a little bit, so don't be that guy. But like your workflow streamlined so fast. The little cinematic vlog thing is a little bit of a stretch for me, but to each their own. But like phenomenal camera. Like people keep saying like, "Oh, well, the overheating sucks." There's been like 5 people that have put out videos on the freaking camera. I don't know who keeps saying it's gonna overheat. And I'm like, you don't own it. Like, how do you know,
dude? And that's the other thing I've noticed. Like, anytime something comes out, like obviously all your major like YouTube personalities get them first,
Yeah.
right? And you read the comments like, "Oh, it has this issue that." How do you know that?
right?
How-
You weren't invited to
how do
Sony
you know-
Camera Camp.
Did they send you one? No. Did you
No.
go to camp? No.
No.
Do you have a relationship with the camera? No.
No.
Okay, then how do you know?
They don't.
You
They
don't know.
freaking know. That's always been the most irritating thing about like YouTube is the comment section. People will come out of the freaking woodworks to tell you the camera that they don't own or know
Or have
about.
ever used.
Yeah, never used. It's brand new to the market, and tell you that it doesn't do that. It does this. And you're like,
This feature sucks. How do you know?
yeah, like you read a blog about it. Good job. but you haven't touched the camera, so you can't speak on it.
Dude, it was like when the newest DJI drone came out. Was it the Mavic Pro Cinema 3 or whatever?
Dude, that thing's a monster.
Yes.
First of all,
it's like what, $5,000, but
yeah,
super nice.
Still a monster.
I remember I watched because when it comes to like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched him on YouTube, Potato Jet,
Dude,
right?
He's great.
Actual
I love him.
cinematographer, actual work on movies, actual professional. Right? He does a lot of your drone stuff first.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember I clicked on the video and you can see when it's posted. It was like less than an hour ago. I'm like, brand new, right?
Yeah.
I'm watching it, start reading through the comments, and people are already like, well, the camera does this. I'm like, how do you even know? No one has one other than the production, like the pre-production models that like he has and like 4 other people have.
Which he disclaims that it's like, this is pre-production. Right. So if it messes up, it'll probably be fixed.
Yeah. like how do you even, you don't know.
No.
So please stop.
Yeah. By the way, his channel, phenomenal. He seems like such a fun dude. Also, congrats on finally getting engaged. I already left that comment on the page, but
the man
whatever.
Shot the man shot his own engagement video better than I ever could. And I do this, that's what I do for a living.
Right. Scott did mine. It looks great. Thanks, Scott.
But no, and again, if you haven't ever watched his channel, he does really good stuff. My favorite thing is there's no intro. There's no, it's as soon as you hit play, he's literally talking about it.
Yeah.
Like I remember when
I feel like if you don't know who he is though, like you're living under a rock.
Right.
He's one of the best channels out there.
By far.
Potato Jet, Gerald Undone. It hurts my head sometimes because he knows things and will find things that I'm like, how did you find that?
The man made a 45-minute video on Codex.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like,
so,
come on.
I mean, if you really need to know the ins and outs of the camera that you are purchasing,
yes,
perfect channel, flawless channel. I feel like if you're fixing to drop a lot of money on a camera and he's reviewed it, watch that. Please watch that video. Yeah. Watch that video. That man is so freaking good.
And again, not a lot of fluff.
No,
almost
straight
none.
to the point. Is very direct. Love it. Phenomenal job.
Yep.
Here's the thing. Love Peter McKinnon, but I feel like there's a lot of fluff. He's also endorsed by Canon.
Yes.
He's a Canon ambassador. Still respect the dude. I think he still takes great photos.
He's a phenomenal artist.
Yeah.
Phenomenal
great
artist.
Dude. Not hating at all.
But
I just feel like it's hard to take a review from somebody that is an ambassador.
That's getting a paycheck.
Yeah, that's getting a paycheck for it. Does that discredit him at all? I don't personally think so, no. Like, if he will still have his own opinion about a camera and stuff like that.
Salt.
Yeah. I feel like every review nowadays you have to take with a grain of salt, like especially if you own if that person bought the camera, it's going to be biased in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Now, if it was sent to them to review and they have to send it back, different story, because it's not theirs to keep. They get to review it and then send it back. Like Gordon Lang.
Yep.
Gordon Lang, phenomenal dude. They're not as entertaining videos as like Potato Jet or like a Peter McKinnon thing, but like, dude, the information that you need is in that video.
It's gonna be there.
That man does every test in the world, and it is the most straightforward, non-biased like videos that you could ask for.
Absolutely.
And I feel like he puts it through every test that you could ever think of before you get a camera and shoot an actual gig. So great channel.
And that kind of like circles back to the very beginning, and I think we're going to kind of wrap up with this.
Yeah.
That with the market that we're in now, the amount of technology and how fast it's improving, there's going to be new products all the time.
Oh yeah.
Do yourself a favor. Watch something, read something, listen to somebody else who's been there, someone who knows a little bit more about something than you do, because there's always going to be that person.
Always.
And listen to their opinions, their thoughts, their pros and cons. And it may end up saving you a ton of money.
Like, I wish that like YouTube, where it is today, was there when I started video and photo, because I would have saved myself tons of money. I jumped camera systems. I've owned like 7 or 8 Sony cameras. I've owned probably about 7 or 8 Canon cameras. I've owned at least 5 Fujis. Like, I've done my fair share of camera jumping. And it would have saved me so much time and money had I like known what certain cameras could do versus other cameras and what certain companies are offering. Like video wise, I had to jump to Sony for a while. And then Canon was like, oh, okay, we'll give you those features. Okay, well, now I'm jumping back to match my wife's photography and different things like that. And everyone has like different needs. So to say that like one camera company is the best is just false. So like there is no like best camera of all time. Like it's a rat race and everyone's going to have different needs. Like for my professional work, Canon does the job right here. I can get my end result, I can send my product, and my client is happy. That's what matters. So if you can get that job done with Fujifilm, more power to you. You're saving a lot more money than I did. If you can get that job done with Sony, if Sony fits your bill because you need something smaller and lightweight, good on you. Like Sony makes great stuff. If Canon does the job photo-wise for you or video-wise for you, good job. Like all these companies are striving for your money.
Yep.
Anyways.
And you have to remember that as well.
Yeah.
It's a business at the end of the day, and they want your money.
So when someone tells you like this camera is the best and this camera company cares about you the most, they don't.
They don't.
First of all, they just want your money, but they're also trying to make the best product because they're competing with other brands, which is why that Nikon like whole lawsuit thing was such a big deal. Is because now if everyone can shoot compressed raw internally,
it's going to change the game.
like
It's going to change it.
red is no
forever.
longer that special anymore.
Nope.
Now it's just color science. And that narrows a lot. I mean, that narrows so much down. Like
Because now you can have a camera with great color science that has stabilization that shoot in 4K 60 raw compressed,
yeah.
8K 30 raw
And that
compressed,
doesn't take up 2 terabytes.
and doesn't take up. You get a 512 Type B card and you can shoot for an hour.
Yeah. And
It's huge.
the crazy part about that is that would save us wedding videographers so much stress and so much heartache to be able to save a shot in post that you kind of botched while shooting is a game changer.
Yep.
Like, so to have raw compressed internally in your camera and just dial in your settings close enough, dude, night and day difference.
Absolutely.
Especially with like 12-bit color, like, good Lord.
Yes.
Like, so all that to say is like, do your research. All these new cameras that are coming out, like, holy crap. Like, I feel like Nikon with the Z8 so far, I'm not even a Nikon fanboy. Like, I will say I have shot like 2 of my favorite photos on Nikon. So like, I've never really hated on you guys, but like with that Z8, dude, you guys are doing it right. I feel like you guys have taken the lead with that camera. And I feel like you gave the Z8 or Nikon users everything that the R5 users have been asking for. So good job for you. But like, that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening in on everything we got to say about this camera industry and where the heck it's going.
Really though, we could talk for days,
Dude. We'll probably have like another month of just more camera gear we'll have to talk about.
Absolutely.
All right. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.